Hi everyone, my name is Sinclair and I'm an assistant professor at Northwestern University. Today we are diving into the challenge of how you can fairly distribute resources such as food, knowing they have a potentially stochastic expiration date. This is based on our paper, Online Fair Allocation of Perishable Resources, joint with my co-authors Sid Banerjee at Cornell and Shamsi Hussain at USC Marshall. Now, this is particularly important within the context of food bank operations, the main motivating application of our work. Indeed, the Feeding America network of food banks distributed over 5 billion meals to those experiencing nutrition insecurity in 2023. And of the food that it gives out, a substantial portion is perishable like fresh produce. For instance, the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank allocated over 25 million pounds of food in 2022. Now imagine you're running a food bank. You've got a mountain of donations coming in containing different foods with potentially different expiration dates. Your goal is to get that food to people who need it and also to do it fairly because nobody wants to be left with less resources than what they need. However, mismanaging these perishable resources can create a potential logistical nightmare of both waste and inequity. For instance, there's a recent news article of the Los Angeles Food Bank tossing out perished goods right next to its homeless encampments. Now, the reason that this is challenging is twofold. The first issue that comes up in operating these mobile food pantry programs is demand uncertainty. They go ahead and visit a couple locations each day, and they need to decide how much food to give out before moving on to the next location. They don't know how many individuals will show up at future locations. They might have an idea, but they don't know this precisely. And this makes figuring out how much food to save for them in the future challenging. The second issue is perishability. Because perishing times are uncertain, the allocations need to be made according to a predicted perishing order. The reality is, maybe for some goods we have an expiration date, others we have a sell-by date, and for others such as produce, perishing times are truly uncertain. And the issue is that holding on to produce to satisfy future demand can lead to waste because each resource has a ticking clock which is not known to the algorithm in advance. For instance, here we see a sequence of allocations made by a mobile food pantry where it gets to the last location and is left with nothing because the resources expired over the course of the allocations. Given these challenges, our research questions are first, do established equity efficiency trade-offs and dynamic environments persist in the presence of perishable goods? And if not, what limits do they impose on fair and efficient allocations? And second, can we design policies that perform well under these limits? The main contributions we address in our work is characterizing the Pareto frontier between fairness and efficiency, pictured on the left-hand side, by isolating the impact of uncertainty either from demand or perishability. We also develop a guardrail-style algorithm that achieves the Pareto frontier by properly walking a tightrope between using everything up and ensuring that nothing goes to waste through both the best-case and worst-case scenario planning. We also run experiments with real data on perishability from a grocery retailer. And really, I think that our paper highlights that perishability is not just a logistical challenge, but also helps us rethink our entire framework around fairness in this model and the different aspects that are involved. One takeaway is that a little bit of perishability requires significant changes both in algorithm design, mostly including considering the joint distribution of demand and perishing, and also access to high-quality predictions. Now, in our first contribution, we provide a necessary and sufficient condition for fairness to be achievable. We call this offset expiry, which essentially says that the rate at which goods expire cannot be faster than the rate at which people need them. And without this condition, there's essentially no hope. For instance, suppose that all items perish after the first period. Then there is no way to achieve fairness because nobody within the second and the fourth location is able to receive anything. This definition also provides prospective criteria for food banks when selecting which resources to accept. However, it turns out that there's another layer of complexity because prediction errors, these are errors in the allocation order, can have ripple effects both on fairness and efficiency. To see this, consider an extreme example in which my prediction of which items perish in the order is completely reversed. It turns out that in this example, the best you can do due to these errors is to share the first item equally amongst all of the families. And a technical challenge that we address in our paper is providing an exact characterization of this necessary loss due to the endogenous perishing. And our final contribution is designing an algorithm which enumerates the Pareto frontier between fairness and efficiency. To ensure fairness, we use upper and lower bounds or guardrails on the allocations. We then optimize for waste under a best case and worst case scenario planning of both future demand and also the endogenous perishing. And providing a tractable characterization of this endogenous perishing rates is a key technical contribution of our work. And with that, thank you so much for watching this video. I've also included a QR code here for a link to the full paper. Thank you so much.